and welcome back to the 5 o'clock news. I'm your host, Christoph. In today's program, we will bring you an interesting public service announcement on dealing with solid waste management, specifically food waste in the home. Food waste, for those of you who are unfamiliar, is a process where leftovers, uneaten food, and expired food are disposed of. The process of disposal is where the problems arise. Why is food waste management such a big deal for your local community? Let's find out what our lead scientist and community members have to say next.
Hello, I am Dr. Barresi, and I have studied environmental science my whole life. And to answer your question, Christoph, yes, food waste disposal is definitely something that can and needs to be addressed at the community level. The main importance behind effective food waste solutions is that we limit our methane production. What I mean by this when I say methane production is that when you throw away organic material in the trash, and that said trash ends up in a landfill, the accumulation of methane gas increases dramatically. Science has shown that methane is a greenhouse gas that can further harm our ozone layer, in which the speed of climate change increases. This is a major problem. However, composting your organic material allows for microorganisms like lichen, fungi, and even worms to enjoy your garbage. Let's take a closer look at this in real time. So what is happening here is the active decomposition of organic matter. This process of decay can actually boost fertilizing qualities in the soil and help to promote plant growth and overall ecosystem health. To answer your question, Christoph, I think composting is a great way to give back to your local ecology and limit methane emissions from a landfill. This is much better than the alternative, where flarings of methane gas is required to reduce concentrations at a landfill. Not to mention it costs money to run the landfill and pay the personnel as well. Without careful consideration of how we manage our food waste, our actions could soon create problems.
It's a very compelling argument, Dr. Barresi. Thank you for your input. Now that we know the basics of the issue, let's move on to our other science correspondent, Dr. Wallace. Are you there?
I'm here, Christoph. Hi, I'm field scientist Dr. Wallace. Thank you, Christoph, and I totally agree with Dr. Barresi. The benefits of composting are much better than the alternative. That being said, there are many studies that back up this claim. Food takes up more space in U.S. landfills than anything else. In the United States, we discard about 80 billion pounds of food per year. This equates to about 220 pounds of food waste per person. The amount of food we waste equates to about 30 to 40% of the entire food supply. Food scraps also add to the growing waste generated in landfills. This is a problem because food and food waste that ends up in landfills contributes to climate change, as Dr. Barresi stated. Not only this, but food waste has other components as well. This includes the energy and water it took to produce that food. Another thing to understand is that food sitting in a landfill has no natural way to decompose. We have found that food waste contributes to around 11% of the world's total greenhouse gas emissions. And if we do not take action soon, the emission percent could keep rising with rising populations. It has also been determined that 43% of food waste comes from homes, which points the finger at the individual households and the lack of proper disposal techniques. According to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, in the United States, food is the single largest category of material placed in municipal landfills, where it emits methane. Municipal solid waste landfills are the third largest source of human-related methane emissions in the United States, accounting for approximately 14.1% of these emissions in 2017.
Thank you, Dr. Wallace. Well, overall, you've seen the nuts and bolts of food waste and its importance and impact on the environment. Let's check in on a local community member who disposes of their organic materials in a responsible way. Elizabeth, are you with us?
Hey Chris, after I make my coffee every morning, I take it with all of my other food waste straight to the compost pile I've made in my backyard. With this compost pile, it's just one small step to reduce the food waste in landfill and reduce greenhouse gas emissions.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Very valuable information. Next, we're cutting to Bo Diddley, a landfill manager in Peoria, South Carolina, on the impacts and logistical challenges of people throwing away organic waste that could be composted.
Hello, and welcome to the landfill. I'm the Director of Operations, and it is pretty typical for landfills to cooperate with power companies, considering there is a buildup of raw materials that can transfer directly into energy if it's properly cared for. Some issues with food waste at landfills are The waste is typically heterogeneous, wet, fibrous, and bulky. So all these factors lower the heat value of the waste and makes it difficult and uneconomic to store and transport. So some ways to fight this are co-firing, and this is a process where pulverized coal is combined with this food waste and it's combusted to generate power. This is important to but it's important to make sure that the food waste is rid of wet fibrous qualities first to maximize the energy outputs for the power company. This is done through torrefication. So torrefication of food waste has been a topic on the rise for a while. This is where waste is heated until all the moisture is evaporated, and there is a char that's left from this process. The char is then ground up and used in a coal firing operation to produce your energy. All right, let's step into a quick example. This graph, as you can see, which shows the available energy from different levels of heating food waste. It can be seen that increasing temperatures during torrefication can actually lead to higher levels of energy efficiency because there is less moisture in the food waste samples. Unfortunately, this process isn't necessarily environmentally friendly. Due to emissions of carbon back into the atmosphere, so though the use of food waste this way is better than producing more methane, which is stronger actually in terms of destroying atmospheric content than carbon dioxide, it still isn't necessarily ecologically friendly. The best option, of course, is to have gardens or compost your food at home by yourself.
Thank you, Bo Diddley. Some more very valuable information. Thank you all at home for tuning in, and I hope this segment helps us all rethink how we dispose of organic waste around the house. I'll see you tomorrow.